All right, let's dive right in, shall we? macOS Sequoia, am I right? Everyone's buzzing about it. And we are going to break it all down today. We've got Apple's all new features right here, ready to go. And to really get into it, we're also going to bring in some insights from Macworld's take on the update.
Yeah, having that second opinion is kind of like getting a second set of eyes on it, especially this year, with all this talk about Apple Intelligence.
Apple Intelligence. Okay, I'm intrigued already, but maybe back up a bit. For those, let's say, living under a rock, what's got everyone's attention with this update?
Well, iPhone mirroring is definitely the star of the show. And let me tell you, this is not just like, what do you call it, mirroring your screen. No. This is full-on control. Your iPhone basically like beaming itself right into your Mac.
Okay, so I can respond to text, use apps, all that jazz, without actually having to, like, even touch my phone.
Exactly. And get this, your iPhone stays locked the whole time. So someone's looking over your shoulder, they see nothing. And talk about privacy, right?
Oh, that's pretty cool, I have to admit. Okay, but hold on. Does that mean, like, theoretically, could I finally dominate at, like, those mobile games using my keyboard and mouse?
Well, I mean, in theory, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really depends on how the game is designed, but the potential is definitely there. It really shows you how Apple's, like, knitting all their devices together,
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of knitting things together, let's talk about a feature I know I'm excited about. Window tiling. No more, like, resizing windows manually, just drag them to the edge, boom, perfect layout, like magic.
It's pretty slick. And they didn't just stop there. There are keyboard shortcuts now, too, so you can, snap windows into place even faster. Plus, and this is cool, you can actually preview the different tiling layouts before, committing.
Okay, that's nice. My inner control freak is rejoicing. And speaking of keeping things neat and tidy, how about that video conferencing power-up? Presenter Preview. Maybe not the most exciting name, but you ever accidentally shared something you shouldn't have on a work call?
Oh, yeah. I think we've all been there at some point. Well, Presenter Preview basically lets you choose exactly what you're sharing. Just a specific window, maybe your whole desktop, you're in total control. Which, when you're trying to look professional, that's a big deal. Plus, you can even change your background now, too, if you want to get fancy.
All right. I see you, Apple, trying to up our Zoom game. Okay, so those are the big ones, right? The features that'll make you want to run out and grab the update right now. But, sometimes it's those smaller, quieter features that end up making the biggest difference in how you actually use your Mac, right?
Oh, totally. It's like they don't always make the headlines, but they're these little productivity ninjas working behind the scenes.
Love that. Productivity ninjas. And speaking of, Safari's got a new trick, and it's called highlights. So imagine you're on a website and it's like, boom, the most important stuff just jumps out. Key dates, summaries, even music links, all right there without you having to, like, hunt for it.
It's all about saving you time and brain power, right? Like you were saying before about getting lost in long articles. This is like having those little paragraph summaries they used to put in textbooks, but for the entire internet.
Right. I love that. Like, it just knows what I need before I even have to ask, which brings us to Notes. Because Notes is getting a serious upgrade in macOS Sequoia. Live transcription. This one's huge. Imagine you're in a lecture, a meeting, whatever, and you can just record the audio, and Notes will transcribe it all for you, and you can even search through it later. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and it gets even better.
Yeah.
Math Notes. Now, this isn't just a calculator anymore. We're talking full-on equation wizardry. You can write out formulas, use variables, even change the numbers in real time to see how the results change.
Okay, now that's just cool. Students everywhere are rejoicing right now. I can feel it. And anyone who works with numbers, honestly, game changer.
It's a good example of how Apple's really like listening to what people are asking for and building those tools right into the operating system.
Totally. Okay, gotta talk about AirPods. Because they are seriously leveling up in macOS Sequoia. Siri with a nod. What is this, Star Trek? That feels like magic.
A little bit, right? Now, I do have to say, it only works with the AirPods Pro, the second generation ones. But it just shows you how Apple's always thinking about how to make things flow more smoothly, more intuitively. And hey, speaking of smooth, we got to talk about the voice isolation feature for calls. You know how sometimes you're on a call and there's all this background noise and it's like you can barely hear the person?
The worst.
Yeah, well, not anymore. This feature basically eliminates all that background noise so your voice comes through crystal clear.
Now that's something I can get behind. But wait, so does that work, like, only for regular phone calls, or does it work for video calls too?
Good question. So what we've seen so far is it's specifically for phone calls. But knowing Apple and how they like to, keep things consistent across their devices, I wouldn't be surprised if they brought it to video calls eventually.
Fingers crossed. Okay, we've covered some really cool stuff. I mean, Safari's basically got a brain boost. AirPods are like productivity machines now. So we've covered all these cool new features, but I gotta ask, what's the bigger picture here? Is macOS Sequoia just like another update, or is Apple sending a message about like the future of the Mac?
Right, right. I think what's really got people's attention is how many of these features, especially the Apple Intelligence stuff, are only available on Macs with Apple Silicon, Apple's
Yeah.
own chips.
Yeah, so it feels like there's like a strategy here, right? But what does that mean for those of us who are still using like an older Mac, one with an Intel chip?
Well, it definitely looks like Apple's moving towards a future where Apple Silicon is the standard. I mean, they'll probably keep supporting older Macs for a while, updates, security stuff, that kind of thing. But if you want the really cutting-edge stuff, well, Apple Silicon is where it's at.
Makes sense. And it seems like a big part of that future is AI, right? We've seen what Apple Intelligence can do, but where is this all going?
Yeah, Apple didn't really give us a roadmap or anything, but they definitely dropped some hints about what they're thinking. Like, imagine personalized learning tools, right? Where the software actually adapts to how you learn best. Or maybe even smarter automation, where your Mac just takes care of things you didn't even realize it could.
Yeah. Okay, now that's getting me a little freaked out, but also kind of excited. But seriously, with all this AI stuff, I mean, how is Apple going to make sure our privacy isn't like thrown out the window?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And one we'll definitely be keeping an eye on as Apple, reveals more. But I think one thing is clear. macOS Sequoia is really just the beginning. Apple's clearly all in on AI, and it's going to be fascinating to see where they go from here.
Absolutely. Well, there you have it. We talked about all the cool stuff like iPhone mirroring. We dug into those hidden gems like Safari highlights, and we even pondered the future of AI with Apple Intelligence. So much to think about. What gets you most fired up about macOS Sequoia? What are you dying to try out? Whatever it is, go explore. We just scratched the surface here. There's a whole lot more to discover. Thanks for diving in with us.